Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. Governor Jim Pillen has issued an emergency declaration in the aftermath of this past weekend's severe weather. The counties covered in his declaration include Douglas, Washington, and Lancaster. That declaration allows for use of the governor's emergency fund, which was established in the Nebraska Emergency Management Act to address conditions resulting from the storms. Now, initial dollar amounts still being estimated after EF2 and EF3 tornadoes destroyed multiple facilities in Nebraska and Iowa. We continue to learn more about that massive system that rolled through parts of eastern Nebraska. Joe Jordan has more.
Northeast Lincoln, Nebraska. Time is 2:54.
The numbers are still just getting started. 24 hours after storms ripped through western Douglas County, we're told there were 150 homes destroyed, but that number appears likely to climb, while officials quick to note only a handful of injuries.
It is an extraordinary miracle that we've had this kind of a cell come through and no casualties, no loss of life. Just in the last hour, I had a call from the President of the United States. We were out, so I did not get it, but he left a message. Federal government is here to help us.
And we're learning more about the size and scope of the storm, beginning with the ferocious tornado that started in Lincoln before heading to Elkhorn and Bennington.
Solid EF3 damage, so that's winds in the range of 135 to 165 miles per hour, right in a metro area or in hitting population is something that you don't see all the time.
And while likely the largest, it wasn't alone.
There was 80 of them last night.
And how rare is that number?
When you look at the span of the whole country, there's a few times a year where you maybe get close to that, but for a single location, pretty rare.
In Omaha, Joe Jordan, News Channel, Nebraska.
Relief efforts continuing from the devastating storms that hit multiple communities over the weekend. The Salvation Army says they're opening a disaster assistance center on Monday in their Lake Arrowhead office just south of Blair. That'll be the central location for anyone who wants to register to volunteer, but also for those who need assistance. That center will be staffed Monday and Tuesday at the Lakeland Community Building in Blair. The Salvation Army says they're also planning on providing roving food trucks throughout the Blair-Lakeland area. There's also a drive-through disaster relief center in front of Bright Ideas Decorating at 156th and Blondo in Omaha. The Salvation Army says that center's available for folks affected by the storm who need water, non-perishable goods, cleaning supplies, and personal care items. As for anyone who wants to volunteer at the relief center, you can call the volunteer hotline at the number on your screen, 402-898-6000. Officials at Omaha's airport over the weekend made assurances that the tornado damage at Epley Airfield will not prevent it from welcoming those flocking to the city for the annual Berkshire Hathaway shareholder events in the days ahead. Omaha's airport authority says they were closed for less than an hour on Friday after a tornado struck the general aviation area. Passengers in the terminals were taken into shelters throughout the severe weather event. No injuries were reported, but 4 hangars owned by OAA were completely destroyed, and the 31 private aircraft housed there suffered significant damage. But OAA says reconstruction crews have already been deployed. The east side of the airport, though, is still closed to anyone without a specific reason to be there. And a Waterloo couple did not let the tornado cancel their wedding plans. Jessica and Austin Bracker got married on Saturday. The tornado tore through town, though, ahead of the festivities left their venue without power. So the couple decided to go ahead with their plans, moving their entire setup indoors. They said the guests rolled with the punches and helped celebrate their moment. The couple said overall the day was perfect and that they all had a great time. In other news this morning, pro-Palestine demonstrations are popping up at more and more universities across the U.S. That's led to dialogue, but also arrests, closures, and at least one faculty revolt. Now, schools are under even more pressure to respond to the protests with commencements around the corner. Amy Kiley has more.
Pro-Palestine demonstrations are springing up at more universities as graduation season gets underway.
I am encouraged that the world is paying attention to what's happening.
Today is the last day for classes at Columbia University in New York, where the campus movement began. An encampment there remains in place as students and administrators discuss protester demands.
I'm really hoping that it stops before graduation. I'm graduating this semester. There's only one commencement.
Classes are also wrapping up at Emory University in Atlanta. There, faculty are beginning a no-confidence vote for the school president today. It's over the police crackdown on protests last week.
We talked about how the people who are dying in Gaza right now, the tens of thousands of men, women, mothers, fathers, and children are being displaced.
The UCLA official reports incidents of violence between pro-Israel and pro-Palestine demonstrators yesterday.
They were cussing at us, saying terrible things. We've seen it historically that when the students decide to unite, that the people will rally behind them.
UCLA's commencement is set for June. Unlike the University of Southern California nearby, its main ceremony next week is already canceled.
They were expecting about 65,000 people on campus, and they just did not feel that it was going to be safe.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Hundreds of true believers gathered at the Bigfoot conference in Grand Island over the weekend. Ana Ruth Lugo Mejia has more.
Despite the controversy surrounding Bigfoot and unbelievers, the Bigfoot conference is back for another year. Hundreds attended the conference, and it is the first year it takes place in Grand Island. Host Harriet McFeely, the Bigfoot lady as she likes to call herself, says they were outgrowing the space in Hastings. She says that even though she knows that comments are made about her or it being a hoax, she says people haven't taken the time to get educated, and she makes sure to check the veracity of every speaker.
The stories they tell are not fairy tales. All of these speakers have actually been years researchers out in the field, in the forest, in the mountains, and doing these things. So it's just so interesting.
Christy Sci-Fi sells merchandise. She says that ever since she was 4 years old, she has been intrigued by them. When she watched The Legend of Boogie Creek, she tells me it had an impact on her.
Because Bigfoot are people. They're an ancient people. They're not monsters, they're not creatures, they're not beasts. They're people. And like me and Robin and Harriet, we're just putting it out there that they're like us. That they don't want to be terrorized by people, you know? They want us all to work together as one.
She also tells me last year she had an encounter with a Sasquatch and showed me the picture. She assured me that that wasn't the first time she encountered one.
I came across a good friend and his Sasquatch that lives behind him. I began to interact with him. He started leaving me rocks. He started leaving me flowers. He started leaving me skulls of deer. He's even left me an old necklace, you know? So that's how I became more involved with these people.
Blaine and Lisa Tyler hail from Ontario, Canada, and they are presenting their findings at this year's conference. They said they had several encounters.
One day I just got fed up and I said, I'm gonna go find them. So it basically took me 2 hours to find and film a whole family of them in daylight. So that's something, and it's not because I'm like great and I'm doing that, it's because there's a lot more than people realize. It's just you either are aware of them and what they can do, or you're totally oblivious to them. And that's how they get away with not being seen or filmed, is because most people, especially they can't see them. You have to have trained eyes to see them because they use strategic intelligence to avoid us.
They said there's not a Bigfoot community in Canada as big as in the U.S., and they are glad they have found one.
Oh, it's
amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing, yeah. I mean, you talk about it down there and they look at you like you got two eyes, you know, two heads, not two eyes.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, Bigfoot. Funny.
Yeah, joke.
It's all a big joke down there still.
The big conference still going until Saturday. In Grand Island, Ana Ruth Lugo Mejia, New Channel, Nebraska.
And in sports, Husker Nation got their first glimpse at the 2024 Nebraska football team on Saturday, including a look at five-star freshman quarterback Dylan Raiola. NCN Sports Now's Jake Bartecki has the latest from Lincoln.
Well, after weeks of spring practice, the red-white spring game finally took place on Saturday at Memorial Stadium, with the white team edging the red team by a score of 25-21. It was also the first day for Dylan Raiola, the freshman phenom quarterback, to play live reps at Memorial Stadium in front of a live Husker crowd, and he dazzled over 60,000 members of Husker Nation.
I fought back tears walking out the tunnel for the tunnel walk. Growing up as a kid, that's what I knew and that's what I watched. So being a part of it, you come out of the tunnel and you hear the song. It got heavy for me.
Between splitting reps of both the red and white squads, Raiola's final line reads 16 of 22 through the air for 239 yards and 2 touchdowns with 1 pick. One touchdown was a 64-yard deep ball to Jalen Lloyd.
It's based on our playmakers. We have a lot of those. We want to use them, and we're just trying to find ways to push the ball to our guys and watch them go.
While Raiola was the story of the day, other Husker quarterbacks had their moments as well. Heinrich Haarberg threw for 2 touchdowns while also flashing his old signs of running the football. And freshman Daniel Kalen, he completed over 60% of his pass attempts. A strong quarterback room makes Coach Rule confident.
What I love is we're going to focus on Dylan. I get that. But you can see the improvement in Heinrich. You can see Danny as a true freshman go out there and complete 60% of his balls, whatever he did today. It's just, I want the quarterback play to be great, and so each guy from there then has to bring their own unique sensibility, right? Dylan kind of makes these types of plays. Heinrich can make these types of plays.
Couple pieces of unfortunate news at the spring game on Saturday as well. 2 knee-related injuries, one to wide receiver Demetrius Bell that Matt Rule called post-game significant, and the other to cornerback Bly Hill. That was called by Rule semi-significant. Reporting on the Huskers at Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Jake Bartecki, NCN Sports Now.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com, click on the news tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.